Rev up your engines!
Now, since Trump's saying he's going to put tariffs on stuff, realize they're saying 25% on Canadian and Mexican goods, but on the Canadian oil and gas, it's only going to be 10%. Right? But regardless, it's now having a short-term spike in energy prices. Because, of course, if you put a tariff on the oil and gas coming, guess who pays for it? We, the consumers. Okay? So the price of gas will go up. But here's what the economists say. Crude markets will see higher prices. Consumers will fork out more for gas and diesels in the near term. But the spike is only temporary. They said in the long run, it could lead to lower oil prices. And as they always say, the devil is in the details. And the reason they say the price will come down for gasoline for us all is this. Because they say if they put all this tariffs on, the world economy will go into a giant recession. And when you're in a recession, the price of oil drops. People don't have money to buy gasoline, so the price of gasoline goes down. So that doesn't sound too good, really. Well, in the short term, we'll pay more for gasoline, but in the long term, the gas will be cheap because we don't have any jobs and any money to pay for it. Of course, they don't say that. They just say, well, the price is going to come down in the future because blah, blah. No, if it does come down, it'll be because everybody's in bad shape because there's a giant recession. Realize, if it does come to fruition, that means we'll pay more for gas now, but then in the future, we won't have any money to buy gas. It'll be cheap. We don't have any money to buy it with, but hey, it'll be cheap. Kind of like the big, giant depression in the United States, in the 1900s. Nobody had money but the ultra-rich. So even though nobody had jobs and money, the ultra-rich could buy everything because everything was cheap. They still had some money left over. Land was cheap. Everything was cheap. They bought it all up. Well, Trump's 25% tariff that he announced on Mexico and Canada certainly are going to challenge the global auto industry. When they announced it, the stock market futures started to drop like a stone for the automotive industry. You might think, they're putting tariffs on things coming from Mexico and Canada, and a 10% went on China. Well, what does the auto industry care about it? Well, guess what, people? Of course, the auto industry, the reason they moved factories down to Mexico because it was cheaper to make them there. That's originally why they also moved some to Canada. It was cheaper to make them there. Strangely enough, for the Canadian side, when I was a kid, I had a Ford Maverick. It was made in Oakville, Ontario, right? And it was cheap. But the Canadians paid a whole bunch more than we did because they taxed their own people. So they paid these ridiculous taxes in Canada, where the car is made in Canada, but it costs, good 30-40% more in Canada than it did in the United States where I bought mine. Kind of strange, right? Kicking the butt to a lot of these companies that aren't in the greatest shape in the world to begin with. Now, that's one of the reasons they moved down to Mexico, their factories, because they wanted to save money. They wanted to cut the expense to raise their bottom line so they're making more profit. They don't care about the American workers. They never did, The last guy who probably cared about American workers was Henry Ford. He raised their salaries, and all the other manufacturers said, well, Henry, you're ruining it for us all. You're paying your workers too much. Blah, blah, blah. Well, Henry was no fool. He paid the workers more so they could buy the cars they were building. They could sell more of them. Now, there's a smart businessman, right? Because eventually, if all the jobs move south of the border and the jobs aren't here, nobody's going to have any money to buy the stuff that they're sending over. Trump Saturday signed an order to put 25% tariff on Mexican and Canada's goods, and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said he's going to put 25% tariffs against the $155 billion of U.S. goods that are sent to Canada. Realize they actually buy more stuff from us than we buy from them. But my favorite one is the Liquor Control Bureau of Ontario. The LCBO says they're going to take all the American alcohol off their shelves and not sell them to Canadians anymore. And you might think, well, what's that big deal? Well, they drink a lot in Ontario. They spend over $1 billion a year buying American booze at their Liquor Control Board of Ontario. So, if you're a Canadian drinker, you better stock up on American booze if you drink it before they take them off the shelves. People are allowed to bring stuff back and forth. What, are they going to say, no, you can't, we have 25% tariff on the stuff you just bought, going back and forth? You know, it would knock the heck out of the border economies because each side goes to the other side for different things. And if they got to pay a 25% tax either way they're going, it's going to knock the heck out of those businesses. Here's why you don't want to buy a used Tesla, okay? This guy bought a 2021 Tesla Model S, and he paid $100,000 less than the original manufacturer's suggested retail price. And then he decided he didn't want it, and nobody will buy it. It's discounted $100,000. Originally, it was like $139,000. He bought it for only the $39,000 something bucks. Then he decided he didn't like it, but nobody will even give him an offer for the stupid thing. Been sitting on a lot for like 5 months. It's got the tri-motor setup, 1,020 horsepower. It goes 0 to 60 in 1.99 seconds. It's only got 58,000 miles on it. People often don't drive the electric cars that far. But here's part of the problem with them. The guy's had it for a short time, and he finds out that his winter range in the winter, the real winter range was, he could go 230 miles, right? And the range that Tesla gave for it was 340. Well, there's a big deal difference between 230 and 340, right? They don't go that good in the winter. And people are realizing maybe these Teslas aren't for us. Can you imagine? He got it for $100,000 less than what the original MSRP was, and he can't even get rid of it for $40,000 now. Nobody wants these things. And people are realizing it costs a fortune to fix. You can't go that far in them. And the hilarious thing is, that's 230 miles that he said the actual winter range was. But that isn't driving fast. It goes 0 to 60 in 1.99 seconds. You drive it like that, you get a range of about 80 miles. Because I've driven them. Let me tell you, you can go a quarter of a mile. You lose 5 miles of range if you drive like that. Well, people may be whining that Toyota's quality isn't what it used to be. And I got to say, it actually isn't, but Toyota is again the world's #1 car maker for the 5th year in a row. The last time they were beaten were 6 years ago when it was Volkswagen. Now, Volkswagen really got me scratching my head. How can they be the best sellers? But they sell a bunch of crap in Europe and stuff. Small cars that they don't sell over here, and that's where they pumped up a lot of stuff with. And of this, interestingly enough, hybrids represented almost half of Toyota's global sales. So not going all in on EVs seems to be paying off for Toyota. The whole world is looking at these hybrid cars, and they're realizing electric cars aren't ready for prime time yet. Toyota sold 10.8 million vehicles in 2024. That is a lot of vehicles. And this is even though their global sales fell by 3.7%. They still made more than any other company in the world. Now, out of these 10.8 million cars that Toyota sold worldwide, 139,000 of them were electric cars. Okay, so spit in the bucket. People aren't ready for electric cars yet. And hybrids, yeah. And Toyota, of course, they really got the ball running with the Toyota Prius. Now, Honda actually beat them to the line. They sold a hybrid car before Toyota did, but it never hit. It was never popular, where the Prius just took off and kept running, and then they put that system in a whole bunch of vehicles, and that was a game changer. Well, if you ever flew over, going to Vegas, California, flying over the desert, you see that giant mirror system that's there for making electricity? Well, guess what? It's near its end of its lifespan. They're going to shut it down. Now, they're going to shut it down in 2026. As you can see, it uses all these mirrors to make electricity, right? Power companies signed an agreement years ago, and they said that these agreements for this creating electricity didn't expire until 2039, right? But now they're saying, okay, we're going to terminate it instead in 2026. Next year, right? Let's see, that's 13 years less than they thought the thing was going to last, right? That's the thing. This is all fantasy. Turns out that the stupid plant costs so much money to operate that it doesn't work well. It creates electricity, but the cost of it is so high that it doesn't make any sense to even keep the plant operating, so they're shutting the whole thing down. This electric generating mirror plant cost $2.2 billion to build. It was only up for a very short period of time. Now next year they're shutting it down. There goes $2.2 billion down the tubes. And you know what they say the reason is? Well, this technology, we have better technology now. This doesn't work right. We're shutting it down. Right? This is the thing. With all this electrical stuff, it's unproven technology. And that's why I tell people, don't go out and buy solar cells. Don't go out and buy electric battery cars. These things aren't proven technology. Maybe one day it'll be great technology where it's cheap and it lasts a long time, not breaks in 14 years, right? And it doesn't cost much. But This isn't the time. Let's say you buy an electric car today and they find out 10 years from now they make a solid state battery that can go 1,000,000 miles, charge up in 10 minutes. Hey, that'd be a game changer. You still need a bigger infrastructure to generate the electricity. It's got to come from somewhere, right? But at least it would be closer to reality if that stuff ever comes to existence. It doesn't exist now. And if you have the old technology and that new comes out, your old technology is worthless. And it might be a car that you spent $60,000 for, and then down the toilet it goes. Wait, I say wait, and maybe they'll find something in the future. Science is always hopeful of stuff, but it doesn't exist as it stands today. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.